Welcome back, Footy fans, to episode 26 of the Footy Fans podcast. Andrew and Santo Sans Joe for this one.
No Joe.
Scheduling conflicts kind of came up on the weekend, and we're recording this on Tuesday at 11:30 in the morning. And Joe has a real job, so me and Santo are here.
Yeah. Well, I'm in that really fortunate situation where I got like pretty good flexibility with everything I do.
Nice.
You know, I can take a little break. Joe's just got like meetings on meetings all the time. So my work is not meeting heavy. It's just my own personal scheduling.
Which is a nice problem to have, though.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a nice situation to be in.
Yeah, I mean, you know, just can hop off and do this and then like work a little bit later. Don't have too many like meeting scheduling conflicts, which is nice. But it is a challenge in terms of just scheduling your own time and, you know, being disciplined to do the work and also setting boundaries, because I don't want to be the guy that's like working at 9:30 on a Friday.
Yeah.
So it's just all that stuff. But yeah, I had to do this because of our really exciting game on Sunday. Obviously we talked about it before, but give all the footy fans a little update where soccer started for me and Joe. Well, didn't really start. We just filled in for some people, but plan is to play more on Sunday. You know, we trained a little bit in the summer, had one game in the summer that we played in, but haven't really been playing competitive since COVID started. Went back, first competitive indoor game since before COVID. And I remember we talked about how it probably was going to go bad, and it went worse than we expected. Like I told you, just had probably like 12 or less touches all game. 10 of those ended up being turnovers. You know,
And for you, that's not a lot of touches, because like you being as a center midfielder who just demands the ball all the time.
Yeah.
Like you gotta be getting more than that, especially on indoor.
Well, yeah, I was demanding the ball and just, you know, go under my foot.
That bad, eh?
Wouldn't get a touch, or I'd get it, I'd take a touch forward, start running, and then just like fall over the ball. Yeah, and then felt like I was going to throw up after the first half. With like 15 minutes left, I started feeling good. I got that second win, and I was like, all right, like I could stay on and, you know, actually feel like I could do something. I felt warmed up, and the game was about to end. But my chest was killing me, and then I got home, started coughing. Next day, like I told you, my chest was just like, I don't even know, coughing all day. And then I like just go to blow my nose, and blood's on there. I'm like, what the heck? Like, I just got demolished from one game back from soccer here.
Jesus Christ. Like I said, if you did that poorly in your first showing, and like I'm expected to try and play maybe this summer, I don't know, because you and I are like this when it comes to like fatigue and like being in decent shape. So if you're suffering that badly, might as well have like the paramedics on call wherever the first game of the season's at, just in case.
Yeah.
Boy.
I mean, well, that's the thing. Getting in shape is like the easiest thing you can do in respect to soccer. I mean, a touch, game knowledge, that you either have that at this stage or you don't. Getting in shape, you know, you just need 2 weeks or 2 months or whatever you need.
Yeah. And like the fundamentals are always there. They always come back to you. Like once you start playing and like you know, yeah, I guess I get some touches on the ball, like it comes back. Oh, okay, I know how to control the ball with my chest. Like I've learned this 15 years ago, 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So it all comes back, but it just takes like those first couple, you know, sessions, right?
Yeah.
And then just running.
Yeah. Just accepting the fact you're going to be bad for a little bit.
Yeah. Well, if you can come to terms with that, then like, you're already one step ahead.
Yeah. I have not come to terms with it.
I'm so far from there.
Yeah.
I'm so far. One guy though, that was totally in form this past weekend.
Yeah.
What can we say? CR7, Ronaldo, basically putting the team on his back, scoring 3 goals against Tottenham. You know, the crucial one coming in the 81st minute to clinch the game against Tottenham. 3-2 victors for United. Like, it's funny, we were talking about it off air or off recording, saying how whenever we talk shit about somebody or whenever we praise somebody and, you know, put them up on a pedestal, the next game they come back and do the exact opposite of what we said.
Mm-hmm.
So last podcast, I'm saying how Ronaldo's kind of losing it. Redknapp's not picking him anymore. Maybe it's a fitness thing. Maybe he's injured. Maybe he's not in form in training. And then he comes back this game and just, you know, kicks his size 11 foot right in my ass and says, "Shut up." Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. No, it's one of those performances I think he really needed, and just goes to show everyone in the football world, like, I'm Cristiano Ronaldo and this is what I can do, right? Like, nothing better. Getting a hat trick in a win like that. They're still sitting in fifth. I'm not sure still if they got they're going to have Champions League this year. I think Arsenal is just doing way too well, and with all the games in hand. But still, I mean, these are the results you got to pick up, and just a massive win against a top club. Like, it's just who Ronaldo is, right? And like you said, we just chirp someone, whether it's him or Harry Kane or Arsenal, like at the start of the season, and they just go and do the opposite and just tell these kids from Canada and put us firmly in their place.
Yeah, what are you guys talking about? You guys think?
Yeah.
But I mean, this could be one of those momentum games too for United, and it could start getting the ball rolling for them. I mean, like with Rangnick back at the in the helm for United, they were showing like a lot of positive results at the beginning of his tenure there when he first showed up, and then like slowly they started to kind of slip away, right? And like they had that big loss against Man City. You have draws against Southampton and Burnley, and you come away from that FA Cup match against Middlesbrough, losing the way that they did in the penalty shootout. And like we said before, like it's almost like the Arsenal aspect too. Like last podcast, we talked about Arsenal performing well and obviously being a lot better than what they were showing at the beginning of the season, but not having like that big like statement win.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the name Tottenham is still pretty big. It still like holds a lot of power in like just the EPL. But this season in particular, they've obviously been really inconsistent as well, been up and down. But it's still a top game. You're still playing against world-class players. You still have a world-class coach in Antonio Conte on the other side of the pitch where you have to game plan against. And again, I don't think the team performed that well. They kind of rode the coattails of Ronaldo on this one.
Yeah.
But this could be like a big statement win for them. I mean, it's not beating Liverpool. It's not beating Chelsea. It's not beating Man City. But to get a victory against Tottenham, like at the time that they did, again, coming off some poor draws against sides that they should be winning against, and just beating up on teams like Leeds, who you're supposed to beat, a win like this against Tottenham could really get the ball rolling for them. And like you said, their push for Europe has to kind of start and end at the end of the season. Like start now, end of the season. They got to be rolling this whole way because they are 1 point behind Arsenal, but Arsenal has those 3 games in hand.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's it, right? I mean, I do agree. This is pretty much as big as a game, outside from any super high profile game. Kind of like Arsenal and Liverpool, like we talked about next podcast, where that's going to be Arsenal's massive game. This is still huge for United, huge for Ronaldo's confidence, and huge for the team. It could start some momentum for them, but they are going to have to just really crush it this last half of the season if they want to contend for that 4th spot, because I really don't see Arsenal slowing down at this point. They just got way too much momentum. They have way too much belief. And that's the thing. If you're in a really bad spot and as a team you just build out from there, and then now you're sitting 4th and fairly comfortably, it just does wonders for your team, and you can just keep rolling. And even if you pick up a loss or a draw that should have been a win, you always have in the back of your mind thinking how, hey, we're at the bottom of the table and now we're at this spot. Like we can do this again, and we can get over this hump, right? So it's just about, if you can handle that adversity as a team and get over those humps, it just makes any other roadblock you hit that much easier to get past.
Yeah, it gives you a little bit of a cushion,
Mm-hmm.
and just obviously the confidence too going forward. And in United's case, they have an upcoming match today, actually at 4 p.m. against Atletico Madrid in their second leg of Champions League. So again, to come off the win like this on the weekend on Saturday and have a game this big today, only 3 days later, this could be like a big momentum kick for United. And then to round out the rest of the season, they have a rescheduled game against Liverpool they have to play. They have a game against Arsenal on April 23rd, which will be huge. And then they still have to play against Chelsea in the second last game of the season. Mix in some games against Norwich and Brentford that we expect them to get results against. But still 3 pretty big games that they have to play in the remainder of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And then Arsenal standpoint, they have their match tomorrow against Liverpool. Yep, tomorrow against Liverpool. We touched on that last episode as well. If you guys want to talk or listen to us talk about Arsenal and what to expect from them for the remainder of the seaone, tune into our last episode, episode 25. But just to touch on it again, we were saying how Arsenal hasn't had a big impactful victory this season against a side that they should beat or that they should not beat, sorry. And tomorrow is the game against Liverpool. If they can show a positive result, even getting a draw against them would be a good result for them. It's at Emirates Stadium, so it's at home for them, which is nice. But if they can get a positive result against Liverpool, I mean, their remaining schedule is pretty easy. They do have the United game I just mentioned, but other than that, their next tough opponent is West Ham. And then everyone else is in the bottom half of the table.
Yeah.
So Arsenal could go on a run here after this Liverpool match and really solidify their spot. And I said before, too, they could even end up catching Chelsea. They're only 8 points behind, but Chelsea's got a bit of a tougher schedule. And Arsenal could maybe push Chelsea a little bit, make them a little scared for that spot. But I don't think United will gain enough points to, surpass either Chelsea or Arsenal into the top four. No matter how good their form is, they're just that far off. I think Arsenal's run of form coming up, and then the remainder 8 games of the season for them, or 12 games actually. They have 12 games left. Those remaining games, I think they have way more opportunities to score points than Man U does, or West Ham, who's also right there.
Yeah, for sure. I think their runs definitely going to be a lot easier, and it just makes it super exciting. I mean, you have the top 5 right now still have games they all have to play against each other. Even the Man City Liverpool game that still has to happen. I mean, all the games between everyone is just, it's going to have huge title implications, huge Champions League implications, where everyone's going to sit. And I'm looking forward to it. I mean, all these games are going to be massive, and all the hype is going to be really exciting.
And speaking of Man City, they came off a 0-0 draw yesterday against Crystal Palace. The game is being played at Selhurst Park, which is obviously always tough spot to play against.
Yeah.
And we said before, the Southamptons, the Crystal Palaces. Who else is kind of like a gritty team there? Yeah, Aston Villa too.
Yeah.
It's tough to play against these sides, and they always rise to the big occasion. They rise to the big game.
Yeah.
And again, I didn't watch this game, unfortunately, yesterday, but I'm just looking at the stats from it. It's a very typical how you think this game would play out, but just no goals.
Yeah. Joe talked about it, and Joe always say this about Man City Crystal Palace, that it's not even close to a write-off. Crystal Palace will always give Man City a hard time. They have been for so long, like the last couple seasons. And during the game, you just saw it right from early on. It looked like how at least we would expect Man City to play against Crystal Palace. Just Man City getting frustrated. They're spending a lot of time in the final third, not getting a lot of clear-cut chances. There was one shot by Cancelo. I mean, you got to see that replay. He's probably 35 yards out, just rips one, no spin on the ball, just hits the post as flat as he can hit it. Came back super fast to Laporte. Laporte couldn't really do anything. He just hit it over the net because it came back so fast. But just a strike like that from Cancelo was unreal. But I mean, Bernardo Silva had a really good chance, came off the goalie, and he could have buried one, didn't bury it at all. He tried to take a touch. But it was just a frustrating afternoon for City, and it just always seems to happen against Crystal Palace. They just can't find the form. They can't create a lot of really good quality chances consistently enough to get a goal, and they just drop points again. And now we have a situation where Liverpool, if they win their game in hand, granted, they have tough games left, but City does as well. But if Liverpool wins that game in hand, we have a 1 point gap at the top of the table, and now City's not that runaway leader anymore, and it could swing either way.
Yeah, and it just bodes to what we're saying, how we were talking about Man City a month ago, 2 months ago, saying that this is over, the title race is done. We basically stopped focusing on Man City for the rest of the season because we were saying how they're just going to win. They're just going to do what they do. And they were like at 13 points ahead at this point or something. Mm-hmm. And we're just like, okay, like Man City, they're there. Let's focus on the battle for Europe. Let's focus on the relegation battle. And now, again, the curse of us, whatever it is, Man City's dropping points. Liverpool is just retaining their run of form that they've had, being
Mhm.
consistent as heck. And yeah, they're possibly 1 point behind if they beat Arsenal tomorrow. Just being on like the Arsenal bandwagon, saying how well they're doing, I still think this is Liverpool's game to win, and
Mhm.
they're clearly going to be the favorites, even though the game's at Emirates Stadium. I think they'll still be, the betting odds would be on Liverpool. I gotta see what the remaining schedule is for them because they also have Champions League coming up. Um, they've already advanced to the quarterfinal officially, so they'll have to schedule their quarterfinal opponent and match soon.
Mhm.
But so yeah, they have the one game against United, which was postponed, which will get rescheduled at a later date. They had the April 10th match against Man City, which could really swing the table and like can decide the winner pretty much. They have the derby against Everton, which I mean, speaking of Everton being as poor as they are, the derby match is always intense. It could always go either way. It has slated to Liverpool's side of recent decades, it seems
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
but it's still a game that Everton shows up for. So that's always tough to play. They have a Tottenham match, and where we mentioned Southampton being a tough spot to play, they have a game away at Southampton on May 15th, towards
Yeah.
the end of the season. So, I mean, their schedule is a little easier. They have a Watford. They have, who do they got here? They have Watford. They got Aston Villa, which I mean, they're tough to play against too. I think their schedule is a little bit harder than Man City's towards the end of the
Yeah.
season there,
Yeah,
but
for sure.
still, it's just tough to count them out because they've been so consistent. Whenever we've
Yeah.
seen like Liverpool drop a match, either with a draw or with only a loss, they've only had 2 losses this season with 6 draws. But those draws are very like staggered in the season. It's not like
Yeah.
they have back to back draws. It'll be 4 wins and a draw, and then like a 6 win run and then a draw.
Yeah.
Um, it's not very like condensed. So like I think their run of forms they're not as streaky, is what I'm trying to say, as a
Mhm.
side like Man City could be, or like what Chelsea was at the beginning of the season as well. They're very consistent. So with Man City being in the form that they're in, this kind of like is the little like engine that could for Liverpool. Like we have to just keep going, have to just keep chugging along, keep getting our results,
Mhm.
keep getting our wins, and that's kind of the way you have to play as a second ranked team, like trying to play catch up a little bit. You can only do what's in your hands. You can only control your
Mhm.
own destiny. You can't control what other sides do, obviously. So when that opportunity comes up with Man City dropping points like they have, Klopp just has to keep the boys like heads in check and just say, just keep going, just move on to the next week, just go to the next week, go to the next week, and that's all they've been doing for weeks and weeks on end. You look back at their schedule here: win against Brighton, win against West Ham, win against Leeds, Norwich, Burnley, Leicester, Crystal Palace. Like I'm going on and on right now. Like I'm back in January 2nd. Their last draw was against Chelsea, January 2nd.
Yeah.
And every other Premier League match since then, they've all been victory.
Yeah. Yeah, it
So
is.
it's
It's
just they're just the essence of consistency.
yeah.
And I mean, from their standpoint, like I said, it's all they can really do. It's all they can really count on. And they're just waiting for Man City to falter like a little bit each like every couple of weeks, and then they're right back in the race.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, with City's closeout to the season, I mean, like you said, it looks a lot easier than Liverpool, but um even the game they have against West Ham, like if they're going to continue this run of form they have, it's hard to even count that one out. I think all the other ones, Wolves, Leeds, Watford, Newcastle. Um,
Newcastle,
yeah, we'll see. I mean, Newcastle's been playing well, but I would still put City on that one.
of course, yeah.
You would think, as no disrespect to Newcastle, but um, I would put City as a winner for that one, probably
Yeah.
every day of the week. And then they got, Villa, they've been playing well, but the game against West Ham, the game against Liverpool, those are going to be the two games that I think are going to swing the title. Uh, every other game, like I said, City's probably just going to take, but that game against Liverpool, I mean, anyone who doesn't watch the EPL a lot, that's going to be the game to watch. This is
Yep.
probably going to be the game that's going to decide it. And I can't wait to see the hype that's going to happen before this game. They're probably going to have an hour and a half pre-show to this one.
Yeah, I'd be like a Super Bowl. Like it would be like like a 15-hour like pre-match preview.
Yeah.
It's kind of unfortunate it's not at the end of the season, like in the last month, let's say, either. Like imagine this was like scheduled to be the last game of the year.
That's what I mean. Like that's the one thing I haven't seen yet. Just last game of the season is between the 1 and 2 teams, and that's going to be the decider. That's one of the things I haven't seen happen yet. The closest thing was a whole Aguero QPR and Man U Southampton situation where they were both playing on the final day, and how the results happened was going to decide it, but they were playing separate teams. That was still, one of the most exciting moments in EPL history. With Aguero scoring in the 147th minute.
God damn. So late.
90. He's
they add,
90,
they add
96
like 6 minutes?
minute.
Yeah. I think they added 6 minutes to that game or something.
Yeah. Aguero scored with literally no time left. They got 2 goals in stoppage time, right? So that was exciting. But
I think Aguero's touch was the last kick of the game. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I
don't think everyone restarted after that.
Everyone ran on the field anyway, so they just decided the game was over.
Oh yeah, I guess we're done.
Yeah.
The whole team's there, like half the stadium empties out on the field. Yeah. I guess we'll call it.
Well, this will be really good. I mean, it's at Manchester Stadium. So I just can't wait to see how the fans are going to react to every time Liverpool's on the ball. Because this will feel like a championship game, I think, to everyone who's there. Right?
Yeah, well, for sure. And I mean, it's kind of cool because even though like this game is played April 10th, like I said, we could still see like an all England final for Champions League. Yeah. With the runs that, City and Liverpool and Chelsea have all put through. Chelsea has a game today against Lille in their second leg of the match, or second leg of the round of 16. And second today? Tomorrow. With Chelsea up 2-0 there. So they could book their ticket to the quarterfinal as well. And I don't know how it works in Champions League, if there's like a reshuffle or a redraw.
Yeah, it's a redraw.
I kind of forget.
For the next round.
So yeah, they'll have to like pick the pots again kind of thing. So it could end up being that. I mean, could you imagine that if all 3 English sides go through, but they don't get matched up against each other in the quarterfinal somehow? Like, I think the odds are kind of like at least 1 or 2, like at least one game might be an all England battle.
Yeah.
So the odds, like, could you imagine that? And then all 3 wins. Then you have 3 teams in the semifinal.
Yeah.
All from England.
Massive year for England.
You have all 3 teams from England have Bayern Munich.
Yeah. And then Bayern Munich ends up winning. Watch.
Ooh, that wouldn't surprise you, man. That team's good.
That's
Alfonso Davies coming back soon too.
Yeah. That's a one thing I want to see. Just a City Bayern final in the Champions League. That's the one matchup in a massive game that I want to see played, because we've been touting City for how many years, how good they are. Bayern's like their twin brother from Germany. It would just be great to see them. When they're on, they're both on, and it'd be great to see a matchup between them in a huge game.
How frustrating must it be for Pep, like to have the results in Europe like he has, like with Bayern Munich and with Barcelona, and then he comes to Man City, and like that's like the one elusive thing, right? Because it's not like they didn't win the title before Pep got there. Like they had the wins with Pellegrini, they had the wins with Mancini too. But it's like Pep is there for Champions League.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they necessarily needed him to come in to win England anymore, to win the Premier League. He was brought in specifically to win Champions League because that's the most coveted trophy you can basically win in Europe. And like they've been so close. Obviously the Chelsea final, losing out in semifinals in like dramatic fashion, and then just not being able to like being so close to like just to grab it, and then just gone. It's just not there. Like, and it's you got to wait a whole nother year. Yeah. And like they've been on like what, a 5 or 6 year run now with Pep.
Yeah, I think I don't even know. It's been a while. Yeah.
Probably just gonna see real quick when he joined Man City. He's been at Manchester City since 2016. So this is like 6th season.
Yeah.
With Man City, and all 6 years he's been in Champions League. All 6 years he's qualified out of the groups, and all 6 years it just failed them, right?
Something always happens.
But like, is that for them? It's like you can only suffer defeat so many times and use motivation as motivation. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
it's like, oh, we lost, so we have to come back fight next year. Oh, we lost. Okay, we're gonna learn from this. Come back next year. When it's happened like 6 times in a row, like you start to want to win more out of frustration than you do out of like motivation.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that hurts them though, or do you think that might help them?
Um.
Because there's been a lot. So there's been a lot of turnover in the team, but
Yeah.
players like Kyle Walker, players like De Bruyne, um, who else has been there? Sterling. These guys have been there since the beginning, and they
Mm-hmm.
still haven't tasted that Champions League,
Yeah.
silverware.
Yeah, I think for them it's the hardest when you've been there for so long. I mean, you could see it on Aguero's face at the end of the Man City Chelsea game. He was just breaking down, crying at the end of the game. That was his last chance of him ever winning
Yeah,
a Champions League. I mean, he did go to Barcelona the season after, uh, but I think we all had the sense that if he was going to win one, it was going to be that game. And it's just crazy to think how a player like that didn't win Champions League. And that's the case for all these players where when you look back on your career, you want to be one of the players that said, yeah, I won Champions League, the most
I was
coveted
the
trophy.
best in Europe. I was
Yeah.
yes the best in England, which is all hats off to you, but I was the best in Europe that year out of every country, every club. It was us,
Yeah.
and they're still chasing it.
Yeah. You want to be on that team. And like you said, with De Bruyne and Sterling and Kyle Walker, you've been there for so long and it just constantly eludes you. And it has to be frustrating. I mean, none of these guys have won Champions League before. And especially Kevin De Bruyne, like Kevin De Bruyne of all people, best midfielder who's ever played in a really long time, probably the best that's ever lived for his position, hasn't won Champions League.
Best
He could
ever
go
lived for a
down.
position,
Kevin De Bruyne, you think?
more than like Zidane and like I don't know who else.
He's in the conversation for sure.
Kaká, um,
I wouldn't. I would. Kevin De
mm,
Bruyne, I see as
he's sick. I love him, but I don't know best of all time.
maestro in his thing. I mean, maybe not best of all time.
Lampard, Gerrard. I'm just saying. I'm just shouting. I'm just spitballing here. I'm just putting some names out into the world. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's good, man. He's a generational talent. Let's just say that for our generation of
Yes.
viewership, because I named off guys that are older. I mean, Zidane was my parents, like my dad's generation. Kaká
Yeah.
was kind of like a little bit older than us, maybe. Like we're 30 years old. Like we know who Kaká is. And then
Mm-hmm.
Lampard and Gerrard, those guys, again, they were like in their prime in like 2006, 2008.
Yeah.
But De Bruyne obviously establishing himself, 10 years ago, whenever it was in England, maybe
Mm-hmm.
8 years ago. He's been more of like, yeah, like this present day maestro. I wouldn't
Yeah.
go all time. That's the Man City boy in you, I think, coming out a little bit.
He
The
well
Man City
he
fandom.
he's in the conversation for all those guys. I mean, we'll see how the rest of his career goes. I
Yeah.
see him as the Lampard of City that Lampard was for Chelsea when he was playing.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're both like guilty in not knowing the history of Man City and players who may have played in the 60s and 70s that were amazing. Like obviously
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure you don't know either.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, like just from our own knowledge, he's probably like one of the best Man City players to ever play.
Yeah.
Now I put Aguero up there too, like just from what he's done or what he did for Man City, being one of the all-time goal scorers for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like obviously that carries so much clout with you.
Mm-hmm.
But with De Bruyne, yeah, he's a generational talent for sure. He's probably the best, center midfielder City's ever had. But just like in the world scale of like all time, I don't know if I would put him like as the best. But he could definitely get slotted into like the top 10.
Yeah. I
Like,
mean,
I wouldn't argue that.
it's all relative, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just to go to say, like, that's a player that's never going to win Champions League if City don't win in the
Right.
near future. So it's gotta eat at you because that's all you want. He's won the title how many times? Like he doesn't need any more EPL titles.
No, I mean the City's won the title. How many now? Like 6.
Plenty to party.
Plenty to party. How many have they won? Actually, I don't even know how many they've won.
In the modern era,
Well, Premier League titles. Yeah. How many Premier League titles?
five Premier League titles.
5, you're right. Yeah. 11, 13, 17, 18, 20. Those are the years. 2011, 2013. So Pep's won 3 of them. 3 of those 5. De Bruyne has been there for 3 of those 5. But then since, again, Pep's tenure, that elusive Champions League trophy is not there. And you start to question yourself too, thinking, am I players like Sterling, players like De Bruyne, like Kyle Walker, am I content in being just a Premier League champion? Like for your domestic league?
Yeah.
Like, am I like, obviously international results are kind of its own thing. Like you could have Belgium make a final, England obviously making a final in the European Cup last summer. That's huge for them and their credentials and like what they can look back on. But they didn't win.
Mm-hmm.
So for your domestic, league or your domestic team, like we said, the most coveted thing you can basically win is the Champions League. And
we had a visitor.
That's Daddy's coffee. It's all done, yeah. What are you eating? A sausage. Nice.
Hi, Lena.
Want to come say hi again?
Yeah.
Come here. Say
hello.
Hi. Say hello.
Hi. You enjoying March break?
Having a good March break so far? Mommy's home, isn't she?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Run along. I was on the heater with what I was trying to say. Is this all those players want in their careers? Like, do they want more? Again, like, yeah, those 3 players I named off, Sterling, De Bruyne, Walker, are they content in just becoming Premier League champions, or do they possess the desire to want to be more, to win a Champions League enough that they might actually end up leaving Man City towards the end of their career, like we've seen other players do before? Like in Aguero's case, with him leaving City to go to Barcelona, it was a contractual thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he was still leaving. Again, he was like the all-time scorer for their club, I believe. But he still wanted to chase that trophy. He still wanted to, maybe go back and also play with Messi and all that kind of jazz. There's more behind it. But those 3 guys I mentioned, could we see them leave to go to Real Madrid? Could we see De Bruyne go to Bayern Munich? Like, just because they want to win Champions League that bad. And if they've been 0 for 6, maybe 0 for 7 with Man City, maybe they have to change it up.
Well, that's what I've been thinking about, where if you are them and you want to win Champions League, where else do you think about going besides Bayern? Who else are you? If before season starts, you look at every possible team, say you could choose any team you want to go to, who are you going to go? You're on Manchester City. What team are you going to go to besides Bayern or staying at City, where you honestly feel you have the best chance of winning Champions League?
The first come to mind is Liverpool, but they're not going to switch and stay in England. That's the thing too. Maybe Sterling might, because that's kind of the English way. They don't really venture out, past England many times. A lot of the English players. Yeah. So Sterling returning to Liverpool would be crazy.
Craziness.
But I feel like in De Bruyne's case, yeah, it's almost like Bayern or bust.
Yeah.
They see him with another team that comes to mind is PSG, because I think with Messi going to PSG, that obviously makes your team better, like 100%, clearly. Yep. But they still lack like that center mid spot for creativity, because you have Mbappe up top, obviously, and then Neymar and Messi kind of spread, and they both just roam around and kind of move wherever they want freely. But De Bruyne is such a center, like a centerpiece, like such a key aspect of like the middle of the pitch to control the entire game, where I think he will make that team way better.
Yeah.
And, you pair him alongside a player like Verratti, who can kind of be more defensive, gives De Bruyne more freedom to kind of do what he wants. I think that can like really like solidify their team.
Yeah.
But I still think the clear runaway is Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, just they don't need him. But if he wants to win, that's his spot to go. It's not like he has to, if he goes to PSG, it'll boost their chances of winning like a little bit, I think, because I think PSG is still a broken team. But if he goes to Bayern, then it's like you can put Bayern in like the World Cup competition, and maybe they would win that. Like they would be that good with the talent that they have there. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's an interesting discussion. I like to have Joe's input too. Maybe we can talk about it on Sunday next week. But I just think that if they fail this season again with Champions League, you start to bring up, the questioning, like, is this enough?
Mm-hmm.
And is it the case of just bringing in other players to make your team better and just kind of re-roll it again next year and try it again? Or is it coming to the point where it's like, okay, I have to make a personal choice here and say, do I think this team is going to be better again next year, or should I leave for my own personal gain?
Yeah. Yeah, and I would agree. Like, if anything, Bayern is the only other team. I do think that the gaps in PSG are too big right now. I wouldn't, at the start of a season, I wouldn't put them as a how's Lena doing over there?
She's causing a ruckus. She's being very distracted right now.
Bye, Lena.
Bye. Jeez, sorry.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean, at the start of the season, I can only see a player looking at Bayern and saying, yeah, I could win Champions League at that team. Real Madrid, I don't think so nowadays. Maybe they're getting stronger, but I think Real Madrid has kind of passed their Galactico stage of being that team that's just going to win Champions League 7 years in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna start raising the questions. I mean, Pep obviously just wants to win Champions League more than anything else. I think we've said this before, he'll probably see his stint at Man City a failure if he doesn't win.
Yeah.
So he's feeling the pressure of making it work. Right?
Yeah, because like I said, I think like Man City was successful domestically before he got there. So you could have kind of put in any coach or manager in that role. Maybe not any. Like, you have to have some credentials, but you could put anyone there who knows how to win a little bit in that spot, and you can win your league just with the talent that they had, or that they have now too. He was brought there for Champions League.
Yeah.
He was brought there to make Man City on the map as one of the best in Europe. And like, I think it was thought of like almost like a dynasty thing too. Like, we're going to bring Pep in, we're going to run the table with the EPL title, and we're going to win, 3 out of 4, 3 out of 5 Champions Leagues that he's here. And it's still missing for them.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm rooting for him, honestly, just because I would hate because I personally think he's, one of the best managers ever. Just with the style of play. He went to England and changed how every single English team plays just from what he started implementing at City.
Yeah.
And the inverted outside back situation, never seen it before. I've always hated 4-3-3. Pep's really changed my mind on the entire formation. So it would be really sad not to see him win at City. So I'm rooting for him because I think he deserves it. I think all the players deserve it.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I think the players more than him, because he's had his run. Like, he's had his victories with Bayern and Barcelona before, and he's tasted Champions League success. The fact that he's still, trying to get there shows his dedication and his determination and kind of what motivates him. But for the players, yeah, I kind of feel for them a little bit, because again, they are world-class talents all around. And again, winning your domestic trophy is huge, but the Premier League or the Champions League title is like the World Cup of domestic competition. So you're always trying to get to that level. And again, for them to be that close to taste it and not achieve it, it is kind of disheartening for them. But again, they have to look at their defeats and their misfortunes as motivation somehow. They got to grab something from it, keep going next year. Like I said, like 6 times is a lot of times to see failure and trying to use that for motivation.
Yeah, it definitely eats away at you.
Last thing we'll touch on here is just my Chelsea Blues. A whole mess is going on there at Stamford Bridge. The most recent sanction put on Chelsea by the British government, now it seems like, is that Abramovich is having a hard time actually selling the team, and the British government has taken control of the Chelsea assets. They froze Abramovich's assets. Chelsea has had sanctions put on them that they cannot, purchase players. They cannot sell tickets to upcoming events. And the most recent thing coming out actually just earlier today was that Chelsea has a FA Cup match against Middlesbrough coming up on Saturday of this week. And from the Chelsea standpoint, they are trying to push that it should be basically a match behind closed doors because the game will be played at Middlesbrough. It's already a sellout for them. But then what's kind of cool with English football is that you're in charge of selling your own away tickets. So they section off as part of the stadium that are for the away fans, but it's the away team job to sell those tickets to the fans. And with the government coming over and freezing the assets of Chelsea, they're not able to sell those tickets.
Mm-hmm.
So from Chelsea's board standpoint, they're saying, well, this isn't really fair for us. We can't have our own fans there. We want to have no fans there.
Yeah.
And that's their most recent push. I think that's kind of ridiculous to request that. How can you, you can't control what's happening, for the opposing team. This is done because of your not mismanagement, but because of Chelsea ownership and Abramovich. This is all stemming down from him. So it's no one's really fault but Chelsea to look at.
Yeah.
So for them to come out and say, oh, we want to have this game behind closed doors. Oh, this next match against Liverpool, we want to have no fans there. Hypothetically, if they want to go that far, I think that's kind of ridiculous to propose that. But again, I can see why they want to do it because they are thinking that they're getting mistreated unfairly. And I mean, as a Chelsea supporter, I still don't agree with that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably one of the most difficult situations. I mean, because really, not having your fans there is punishing the players. I don't think the revenue from tickets is going to make a massive deal to Abramovich and the team, right? For
especially
time.
And especially in a away match too. You're only selling, 2,000 tickets, let's say.
Yeah.
Maybe 5,000 at most. I don't know what the away stadium capacity is at Middlesbrough, but you're not making millions and millions of pounds off these ticket sales.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's the murkiest water with this situation because even massive Russian companies that operate all around the world, employing tons of people in other countries that are relying on them for their livelihood, all of a sudden this whole situation happens and each country is saying, no to every single Russian company. You have everyday people that are relying on those companies for their livelihood.
Yep.
Most of them don't agree with what's going on with Russia and Ukraine, and they're losing their job. Even if it's this massive Russian company that also doesn't agree with what's going on with Russia and Ukraine, they're all of a sudden not allowed to operate. You have all the people that they hire that are all of a sudden losing their jobs or, getting their livelihoods affected.
Yep.
And it's hurting them. It does hurt the Russian country as a whole. But how much it's affecting Putin, I mean, I do know all the sanctions are putting a really big toll on them, which in retrospect is probably a good thing. But yeah, it just hurts them. So, I mean, you don't want to be in a situation where you all of a sudden have to pick and choose which Russian, clubs or businesses you're going to support. You also don't want to be in a situation where everyday people are getting negatively affected, and you question how much it's actually affecting Russia and the situation in the war. So I don't know. I would probably try and find a situation where you can still have fans there and the team can still operate where it's not affecting the players and not affecting the fans. Because the fans want to go to the game. Can you imagine, you're a Chelsea fan, all of a sudden you can't go support your team all because your owner's Russian?
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. So I would probably try and find a way. I mean, it's obviously going to be really tough to find a way where you're not affecting the players, you're not affecting the fans. It's only the club and whatever you think is appropriate for Roman Abramovich and what he can do with the club on a global scale. I mean, 2,000 tickets to an away game. Like why? I mean, I think anyone could look at that and say, these 2,000 fans, the owner's Russian, these 2,000 fans aren't going to the game because they support Chelsea and therefore support Russia because it's owned by a Russian team. They're going because they love Chelsea, right?
Yeah. I mean, and
I think that distinction's got to be made for a lot of different things.
Yeah, and Abramovich has obviously done a ton for the club.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, all of Chelsea's success in the Premier League has been in the Abramovich era. So you have to give him a little bit of credit in that sense. Like, you have to have some, not loyalty to him, but you have to have some appreciation for what he's been able to do.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to any Russian business, Russian company, you mentioned the word murky waters, like that term. That's a really good way to look at it in this situation, because I didn't know for the longest time what the hell he did or how he got his money.
Yeah.
And it's not very clear cut. I mean, it's not like here in North America where we can kind of see the financial aspect of things. Like, you can go online and like find the books to look at for like accounting purposes and like finances for like teams and everything. In
Mm-hmm.
Russia, it's like sealed behind a case, behind like a 5 foot like thick wall. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's gone. Like, you can't get to those files. You can't find those numbers.
Yeah.
So is Chelsea's money legitimate? Is Abramovich's money legitimate? I think it obviously is. And he's obviously spent it, a lot on Chelsea. But you have to look at the bigger picture, the bigger scale of what's going on in the world globally. And yeah, your support for Chelsea is one thing, but it's for the club. Again, you're not there because Abramovich is there and you're supporting Abramovich, like you said. Like,
Mm-hmm.
no one wears like a Chelsea jersey with Abramovich on the back.
Yeah.
It's not called the Abramovich Football Club. He's the owner of the team. He's done a lot for the team. His tenure now he's being forced out because of what is happening and what he's also been responsible for personally on his own, his own standpoint, his own, his own doing, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
The fans can't control that. All the fans can do is put on their jersey, wear their scarves every Saturday and Sunday, and just support the club. My solution to this maybe is just offer up free tickets for this game and kind of see what's going to happen next. Maybe do like, not like a sweepstakes thing, but do like submit your name for like a draw and you get notified, you get your tickets, go to a away match, like go do that for free.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, again, Chelsea does have some money back in their, in their back pocket that they could front these tickets, because ticket sales obviously are one thing, but it's not the determining factor in profit for the club.
Yeah.
It's just such a small percentage, right? So, I mean, at least they could do for this away match, again, 2,000 to 5,000 tickets, whatever it is, give them away for free. Let the fans go still. When it comes to home matches, I don't know what's going to happen there coming up.
Yeah.
Their next home game is against Brentford on April 2nd. Shout out Melina's birthday.
Here we go.
So I don't know what's going to happen there.
Yeah.
They have a couple weeks still to decide like what the game plan is for that. But again, it's a really tough situation to be in. Me living here in Canada, I still get still able to watch the game on Saturday and Sunday whenever they're on TV. It's not going to really affect my viewing of the match. Clearly, having fans there is a way better experience. We know from COVID and watching those simulated sound, audio bullshit, whatever that was.
Yeah.
That was kind of frustrating. But at the end of the day, it's still, 22 guys on the pitch, one ball, one referee. Like that's all I really care about.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I gotta say about the current situation.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
It's definitely tough, right? Just hoping they come to some resolution. I think, I might have read somewhere where they're just going to run the team and just cover all the operating expenses, because obviously Chelsea employs a lot of people. I mean, if you just shut that all down, like you have tons of people out of a job, which isn't going to help anyone. Maybe they can do it where they still sell tickets and all that revenue goes to just the operating expenses. Have the EPL or the UK just manage the EPL can't, but the UK government freeze the finances and all the assets. Just go at like a no profit situation.
Yeah,
because you have the entire Chelsea staff that are relying on Chelsea to put food on their table. So,
good point.
Yeah.
And Chelsea's finally like putting out results too. I'm like, of course this happens when they're playing good,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was the Iorio, derby on Sunday with Chelsea and Newcastle.
Yeah.
And it almost finished like pretty much as a stalemate. I wouldn't have been too opposed either way if it would have came as a draw, but Kai Havertz scoring the 89th minute gave Chelsea the 1-0 victory over Newcastle. It was a game that Chelsea probably deserved to win. They outplayed Newcastle like crazy. They just couldn't put the ball away. I mean, it was just a lot of similar comparison to the Man City match against Crystal Palace. It was just a very, Chelsea heavy match. Look at the stat lines again. They're just basically doubled up on everything compared to Newcastle, but they just couldn't find that way to score. Couldn't find that way, off the bar, off the post, like a tap in from Lukaku was like just steered wide of the net. And then it finally resulted from a beautiful pass from Jorginho to Kai Havertz, one of the passes of the season, I think. And he was able to score in the 89th minute, give Chelsea a nice big win, kind of keeps their, I can't say title hopes alive because, that's kind of far-fetched now, but it keeps them, up there in the top three in the European battle. Again, we're talking about Arsenal catching up to them a little bit, possibly. Again, Chelsea has to do the Liverpool mindset. Just stay the course. Just keep doing what you can do. And they still have Champions League coming up. They still have the FA Cup in the quarterfinals. Trying to get to the next level of Champions League into that quarterfinal session as well. So, they still have a lot to play for. It's not like their season's kind of, over with them not winning the title this year. They still have, a domestic trophy and the European trophy to play for too. So still a lot of motivation for them to do well. Their remaining matches this season, their toughest bout would be against West Ham and United in April and in May. Everything else for them on paper looks pretty much like they should get victories from. So, I don't want to say that they're locked up for Champions League for next year, but it's got to be like a catastrophic drop-off for them to not stay in Europe. And I think from Tuchel's standpoint, his motivation or his mindset has to be completely on Champions League right now because obviously they won that, how was it called? Champions Cup, Club World Cup. They won that. That's the little pat on the back kind of thing, like good job a little bit. But that doesn't really hold any value, like to the international level of looking at like a championship, silverware. It's not like a really coveted thing. So again, I think their big motivation is for Champions League. And again, their match against Lille tomorrow. Chelsea's up 2-0 aggregate. This will be played in France. So a little tougher test for them. But hopefully they can prevail there and just keep the ball rolling. They haven't lost a Premier League match since January 15th, the game against Man City. So they've mixed in some draws here and there, some games that they probably should have won, but they're staying the course. They're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
As much as I criticize them.
Yeah.
The way I talk about them, it's like they could be in 15th place right now. I'm just never satisfied.
Yeah. No, they just got to stay the course, and I do agree. I think as long as nothing really catastrophic happens, I think they'll be playing Champions League next year, which I think deservedly so. Just with the performances they have, I think they deserve to be there. But also, I don't think they really deserve to win the title with just how good City, Liverpool have been playing, and the run of form they've had. But I think they're just right where they should be, really, and they just got to keep the momentum going and stay in Champions League.
Yep. Somebody's got to come third,
Yeah.
At the beginning of the year, we said a 3-horse race is kind of where it was looking. And then Chelsea just went down the toilet a little bit midway through the season, kind of around the Christmas break, which a lot of teams did as well. But yeah, I can't be too mad at the season. I don't think with Tuchel coming back, and with them bringing Lukaku in, everyone's eyes kind of lit up. Oh my God, Chelsea's the front runner. I'm sure I probably said that at our first podcast episode this year. Go back and check the tape. But as the season played out, it was very inconsistent from Chelsea, and injuries played a factor. I don't want to use that as an excuse, but losing their starting left back, right back, Werner and Lukaku both being out at the same time, it kind of hurt them a little bit. And just Lukaku's, his lack of performance, I think, has been the biggest factor this year.
Yeah.
Because we were touting him for, a 25-goal season, and he has 5 right now in March. So
yeah,
that obviously kind of set back our expectations a little bit. But all we can hope for is that they do better next year. I don't know if Lukaku's going to come back. There's crazy talks of him joining Inter again. Leaving, cutting his contract short and leaving at the end of this season, going back to Italy. So we'll see how that plays out. We'll see how their assets get unfrozen or something. They can see if they can buy somebody else instead. It's going to be. That's the thing. Again. We say it every single episode. This is why the EPL is the best league in the world, because there's just so much going on. There's so much to talk about. Even in an off week when there's no games being played, there's news. There's something happening. There's like transfer talks. There's players getting injured. There's just everything's happening in England at one time. Yeah, and that's why we love to tune in.
Yeah, and that's why we watch. I mean, people, when I say I watch the EPL more than anything, they always ask why I don't watch Serie A. And it's just the EPL is so exciting. I love the football they play. I watch the Serie A. I just don't think the teams are on the same level at all. I mean, you have the top teams like Inter and whatnot, and Juve on a good season, but it's just not the same. I mean, it's so fast paced in England, and it's just really exciting to watch. And like you said, there's always stuff going on, and I think especially too. I mean, I'm sure there's unfortunately like shady stuff that happens in England. The whole match fixing in the Serie A just really turned me off to it. Yeah. Didn't like that at all. So it's really hard to watch a season or watch a league when that stuff has gone on in the past, could be going on now. Just I don't want to watch a soccer game where refs are being paid. So
yeah, I mean, I feel like there's something going on in almost every league, but the Italian league, like there's definitely something going on all the time. Yeah. Did you watch the documentary about that, the Juventus one on Netflix?
No, I haven't. I'm all in on Draft to Survive right now.
Oh, have you finished it?
No, I'm four episodes in. I mean, it's not really linear. They cover a race and then do something else, then come back to another race with a different team. All I've really seen so far is just the scoop on with Mercedes or McLaren and Ferrari dueling it out. Lando Norris is doing super well. Daniel Ricciardo struggling, but I just watched his win in Monza.
Hell yeah!
So that was really cool to watch, and I'm a fan of his. Obviously, don't know him too much, but just from what I've seen in interviews, he seems really competitive, but also pretty chill.
Big personality.
Yeah, and what I like, because I've seen other drivers do this, where they get really like snippy and short with their team and the guys on their team, which I don't really like. I mean, Daniel Ricciardo can show that frustration, but it's more so about himself. I never really, from what I've seen in all the interviews and whatnot, I've never seen him complain about like his team. Save the one thing when he was on Red Bull and him and Max were just literally butting heads about everything.
Yeah. It's funny too how they try and like the teams try and force the drivers to get along, and they want to paint this picture like they're all best friends, but they're all competitors. It's not like not like in soccer where like everyone on Chelsea is the same teammate. They're all playing together for one goal. In Formula One, you're on a team with a teammate, but if it goes toe to toe at the end of the season, like you're going to take him out of the race and like possibly win. Like, it's kind of weird. It's a weird concept.
Well, yeah, and they laid out pretty well in the show where they say your teammate's your biggest rival. Like, you're both driving the same car. You have to outperform him because if you're the better driver, you have to show that, because everything is the same except you in the car versus the other driver in the car.
Yep. So it just comes down to like your own personal performance, right?
Yeah. And then I saw where Red Bull was pulling ahead, and then there was the crash with Hamilton and Max where Max went like flying into the wall.
Oh yeah, that was at Silverstone.
Yeah, so he was out of the race. So and then Hamilton won, so they got maximum points. So they cut the lead to like 8 points right now. And then I saw the other crash where Max literally went on top of Hamilton.
Yeah.
That was scary. And that's when Ricciardo won. So that's where I'm at right now. Don't know who's going to win the constructors. Don't know who's going to win the world championship. I don't know anything about the massive controversy that happens, but it's so exciting. Like I'm just watching the show. It's all condensed. It's going to close out.
It's so funny how like you don't watch this, like you don't know what happened until you watch the show. You and Joe in particular, like crazy.
if anyone wants to try it, skip, like, if anyone's kind of into F1 but also into the show, skip the season, don't watch any news, just watch the show. It's exhilarating, man, not to know what's happening and who's gonna win during the show. Oh,
Yeah, major props to Netflix for taking this show like under their control. I mean, taking the sport started under their control like 4 years ago. This is the fourth season of Drive to Survive, and for Netflix to do this when they did, perfect timing.
yeah.
Like, this is just before COVID hit, a couple years before COVID. They grasped an entirely new market of people in North America with this show. It got me more involved in it. Do a little plug here. If you guys want to hear me talk about the Formula One season with my cousin Liam on the Bruzzen F1 podcast, BRZN F1. You guys can follow us on YouTube there. Hit us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're all over the place. Subscribe to that channel too. And we talk about, the Formula One. We've had 3 episodes so far, and it'll be a Sunday recap basically of every single race when it goes on. And we'll post it on YouTube and on our podcast platforms. But yeah, it kind of like the show Drive to Survive got Liam into the show like huge when it came out. Like, I think he was a couple seasons behind. After the show already came out, so he binged like 2 seasons in a row.
Yeah.
Just for last season. Oh, sorry, 3. Okay. No, 3. He binged all 3 seasons just before last season. So he was like totally caught up with what happened 4 years ago. And then he got really into it. And yeah, it's taken a whole, new fan of people in the sport. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. I had zero interest. Like, I would see it on Sunday mornings. My dad and my uncle would watch it, and it was always, they wanted Schumacher to win, just crushing with Ferrari. I would see the race, and I didn't care. I didn't like it. I was even like turned off by it. I'm like, oh, this is just really boring. Drive to Survive comes out, and I really got the full picture and dynamic of what F1 is all about. And it's awesome. Yeah, props to Netflix for sure.
Big time.
Yeah.
Are we done for here? That's not you. All done?
Yeah, I think we're good.
All right. I want to thank everyone for tuning in, for watching this episode on YouTube. It'll be posted there at the Footy Phans YouTube channel. It'll also be up for podcasts on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And as always, you can find us on Twitter at @footy_fans. Instagram, same account, Footy Phans Podcast. We'll be posting pictures, updates, breaking news, all that stuff. So you guys can find us all there on social. As always, we will tune in next week after all the week's action.
See you, everyone.
Ciao.